Now, if you want more background and context, go to the other video. I probably have put that out. However, I will assume people know some of the basics. So let us get into it. For a long time, we were wondering, why was Aaron pushed out of the Aftermath Foundation? There were any good reasons why it was possible he was pushed out. Didn't know for certain. So Rinder has put out a series of videos that provides more information and context. I think that's very critical. But let me just cite Marilyn, who is one of Aaron's most, nice way of putting it, fanatical defenders. And she very arrogantly asks, well, I don't get it. What's the big deal? Who cares? And asks for, quote, the evidence. Well, a major issue that is upsetting at least some people who are trying to take anti-Scientology serious is that Aaron has a new foundation, the SPTV Foundation, but it doesn't seem to operate like any real foundation. Doesn't seem to have real professional staff. Doesn't seem to have legit IRS status. It just seems to be a social club that Aaron has set up. It's kind of just a very egocentric, egomaniac kind of project. So the question is, well, is this what happened with the Aftermath? Because if it is, then it's understandable why they had to push him out. So Rinder touches upon many controversies, but I found this one in particular because it does answer the question, saying, well, if he did something wrong, you can call the police and call the cops and the FBI. Again, maybe Maryland needs to study American law a little bit more carefully. It is an interesting question if Aaron did break the law at the criminal level, right? It could just be he broke the law in terms of civil courts, right? There's two systems, the criminal court system and the civil court system. I think in the end it would have been better if Claire just went through the civil courts and just went through this basically more formally and said, listen, this is a board member who is not operating within the law. It is hurting the foundation as a foundation. That is why he has to formally leave. And these are the reasons, and just go through it. So let's hear Rinder spell this out. And I think here it is very alarming. It's very alarming.
Aftermath Foundation, because he was raising money for himself personally on the basis of his association with the foundation. And that is by definition innumerable and disqualifies an organization from.
Now, I just take it as a tautology if a charity found out that one of the board members was basically stealing the money, which is what Aaron was doing, because if you're going to raise the funds and basically keep it for yourself, well, yeah, that's charity fraud. That is like pretty much 101 fraud. Now, would this fraud put Aaron in jail? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on the Florida laws. Depends on statutes and so on and so forth. Again, it's all very contextual in America, right? I mean, you do have some counties and some cities that blatantly go against the Constitution. They don't care, right? Unless you take them to court, those laws stay on the books. So it's just a very tricky thing in the U.S. with the 50 states, and the legal system is just incredibly complex. That's just how it is. And different courts have different preferences. But the basic gist here would be, I think this would count as fraud. And this is more than enough for any charity to say, okay, you have to step down. But then we have these added controversies. But in terms of Marilyn's question, well, what did he do that's so wrong? And if it's wrong, call the police. Well, maybe this is not a criminal matter. A crime was committed, but a crime in the civil court sense, not the criminal court sense, right? I mean, just study the basics of American law. But again, we'd have to look it up and say maybe Aaron could go to jail for this. So the basic point here is Marilyn's just acting and talking in ignorance, saying, I don't get it. I don't understand. Right? Okay, well then you don't understand. Correct. And there we are. But you not understanding things doesn't make Aaron innocent. And I think Rinder provides more than enough context and new information to say, yeah, in terms of the basic dilemma that Should he have stayed on the board? The answer is no, because he was consistently acting in ways that professionally were not good for the Aftermath Foundation. And in this one case alone, yeah, that's a criminal issue. This would really hurt the foundation as a foundation. Its tax exempt status would be in danger. And there you go. And obviously, Claire and the others worked hard to get that IRS recognition and earn it and keep it. Right? You can go to the Aftermath Foundation and look up, is this a legit foundation, a legit charity? And the answer is yes. Right? Claire has to make reports. They do have to do things publicly. They do have to put things out publicly. Now, some people bring up there is still the larger issue, which I alluded to in the first video here on Jerry Armstrong, and whether Rinder has been forthcoming enough. And that's perfectly valid, but that is not relevant in this controversy. The question is, was Aaron acting in a professional manner? The answer is no. Over and over again, he was not acting in a professional manner as a board member. If Aaron wants to do these things, again, he'll have to do it with his own foundation, which he's doing. And there you go. Now, whether he's breaking the law in that capacity, I think he is, but we'll have to wait and see. But he was definitely breaking the law while he was with the Aftermath Foundation. So Aaron was basically demanding that Claire Headley just cover up what he did, saying, okay, yeah, I'm stealing the money and I'm fooling people. I'm the vice presidente. Give me monies. That's illegal on YouTube. This has been a big dilemma on YouTube, that sometimes YouTubers will say they are raising money for charity. They're not really doing it, right? They're raising the money and then keep the money. Aaron has been here a while. He would know this. Again, I've been on YouTube just a couple of years, but even I'm hearing about this, and I just think that's insane. Like, I, at this point, could legitimately, say, hey, I'm going to be raising money for charity. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, again, YouTube has regulations. That's fine. And they make allowances for that. But again, you have to provide evidence you are giving the money to the charity. Charities can raise money, but there are regulations. So either Aaron is wildly ignorant of the regulations, maybe he is, but that would be another problem, saying, well, it seems like you're wildly unprofessional and wildly ignorant. Why should you be staying on the foundation? I don't know. Again, for a long time, good faith, well, maybe Aaron was not as bad as they say, but again, if Rinder could just go through the quote receipts, then I don't know what we can say. It just seems that pushing him out of the foundation made a lot of sense. So you can have your gold-based conspiracies, but at the end of the day, if he's committing fraud, he's committing fraud. That would be a problem for any charity, right? This is something that they can be investigated for, and if the IRS thinks there's a valid issue, they can take away the tax exempt status. That's just there. So I don't know. That said, there are going to be larger questions about how we should feel about Rinder, but again, at least in some cases in these videos, it's sort of like, well, he's answering the question there narrowly. Was there justification to push Aaron out of the foundation? And the answer is pretty overwhelmingly yes. You can be an Aaron fan, but saying that he was following the rules or even the law as vice president of the Aftermath Foundation, the answer appears to be no, he wasn't. So there's so many mysteries and questions, especially with Luis Garcia and several other things. But again, at the end of the day, did Aaron break the law? Despite Marilyn Honig's arrogant voice, the answer is yes. Should have Claire called the police or the FBI? I don't know. It depends on the severity, how much money was raised, how bad is this? Would this be just a violation of YouTube policies? Would it be violating IRS policies? It's a lot of questions. But there you go. But just because Claire didn't call the FBI on Aaron doesn't mean he was innocent. So, but again, the expectation that Aaron has that Claire should have just allowed him to continue doing charity fraud. If Aaron thinks that's a solution, well, yeah, he's pretty out there if he thinks that's the way they should have gone.